started, we sort of hinted at the necessity for standards, common standards. You suggested, Ian, I think that some companies, some broadcasters are going with proprietary systems, and that's inevitable, I guess. But how important are those compatibility standards across the production range?
Oh, I think very important. From a bandwidth, interface, HDR perspective, they're key, because otherwise consumers will be misled. As with any technology, I mean, HD was very, very similar, where there were lots of content protection incompatibilities, lots of different delivery technologies, and the industry eventually does get itself sorted out. I spent most of NAB going through the workflow and explaining, sort of from a compression perspective, we use HEVC to get the compression, so the business case stacks up against HD, and we're at that upper bit rate of what's used for sports applications. But I think as we started off with, 4K as a resolution, the hope for UHD and the various forums that have been set up is that they do come up with clear branding and clear standards and clear profiles, because until that happens, it remains just an interesting technology. It really takes off when you have full interoperability.
Yes. And
that's what we need to guarantee. The cinematic 4K environment is quite constrained. It doesn't have all of the interfaces and playout options that TV has, and multi-screen options. And so, if you like, the cinematic industry has been able to evolve with quite ad hoc workflows, ad hoc interfaces, because it's just shoot and distribute. But increasingly you're finding that a lot of the 4K assets have multiple processing steps to realize them in a multi-screen or TV type environment. And that's where you really need the standards to help.
Sure.
Because the wider the distribution goes, the more reliant you have on standards for the well-being of the industry.
Sure, and the timetables for these standards to be agreed, they've not been good.
No.
They've been challenging right across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it goes back to, there are broadcasters and content rights owners, those who have got more of a leaning towards VOD cinematic content, which interestingly has been distributed as Ultra HD,
yes,
are ready to go. The screen technology represents what they need in terms of frame rate, in terms of resolution. They can demonstrate
this is really the upscaling or the digital conversion of existing 35mm material, by and large.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting aspect of it is that most people assume that any cinematic content is actually 4K, but as you mentioned, a lot of it's 2K, particularly if it's got high CGI elements within it. But I mean, I think that for people, particularly for broadband delivery of VOD, it does represent an improvement now. But the key issue is whether it actually transitions into the UHD TV market. And really, you're talking about what content you're using, whether it's cinematic 4K or live sports UHD. The premium sport has the most cachet with broadcasters, and they're really striving to do that. But that's what really pushes the bandwidth requirements, pushes the standards in terms of high dynamic range, in terms of bit depth. Those are the really interesting areas that the standards bodies are tackling now.
I mean, let me just for a second continue that theme with you, and then we'll come down to delivery. Are we, as an industry, are broadcasters and content producers, are they embracing these standards, and are they solving the problems in readiness, maybe for transmissions to start in a meaningful fashion across Europe this coming winter, for example?
Well, I think you have to split the question in two. From a production and content acquisition point of view, most people are future-proofing their content in 4K, particularly for documentary, drama, cinematic applications, that purely from a production point of view, they're doing really well. From a distribution point of view, if you're involved in VOD, broadband delivery of cinematic content, again, the interest is there, and if you like, it's the Ferrari of any brand that's sort of pushing out and saying, you have the broadband connectivity, we have the content. The issue with, say, the Rio Olympics, where it's going to be covered in 8K
but not 4K.
And virtual, exactly,
Yeah.
that sort of epitomizes the dilemma that you've got people with different takes on it. The Olympics don't feel that the back-end production and delivery infrastructure is yet ready, and yet for a major market they're going to deliver in 8K and virtual reality even.
Sure.
The corollary to that is, say, the sports market, where you've actually got premium sports coverage like the Bundesliga and Premiership football, who are trying to say, we've got high value assets, we are appealing to a generation that do have this disposable income to invest in sets, and we are eager and committed to delivering, and it's the responsibility of the industry to actually align those to standard interoperable solutions rather than proprietary one-offs.
Absolutely. George, what do you see as the challenges in delivering 4K content from broadcasters, from content providers, from standalone players like Netflix?
Mm-hmm. First of all, standardization, of course, is very important. Standardization of video signals, like high frame rate, high dynamic range, wide gamut, everything, as well as standards for delivery methods through the internet. So I think in future years this thing has to develop, and this thing has to be done to improve delivery, because one thing is happening, to step a little bit aside, when Ultra HD is coming, the one thing is happening which we are not talking about, is that SD gets obsolete. Yes, because HD will become new SD.
We've said that for a long time, and I mean, any of these key markets, any of these really rapidly developing markets. I mean, India is a case in point. Anywhere in the Middle East, much of Latin America, here across Europe, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of SD channels,
yes,
and they've not made the transition to high def yet.
So, and I hope and I think that these SD channels will become HD. So HD becomes new SD.
Yeah. No, I think we all share the hope around the table, but I'm not sure it'll happen. I'm not sure it'll happen.
So why do I say this? On long range distances, delivering 1 megabit is not that big problem. Maybe not from continent to continent, but inside one continent. 1 megabit is more or less reality. So SD is reality on long-range internet delivery. But HD is today HD delivery within one continent is problematic. I'm talking about long ranges, and Ultra HD is a big problem, and that's why, and I think that's why Netflix was limited to 15 megabits. Not because of end users' subscription speed, just because of even using all the CDNs they can, still it's problematic to deliver 15 megabits. We are researching in this area for years, and we know this is problematic, especially on the cross of ISP borders. There are some problems of limitations. So we are developing a proprietary protocol and proprietary methodology, and starting from this year we are declaring that we have end-to-end systems for this OTT and IPTV, because this is much easier for us to guarantee user experience, because when integrating to different partners, you need to sync in everything to guarantee high user experience.
Sure.
And as main goal of our company is high user experience, high quality of user experience. That's why now we are switched to end-to-end solutions. And we are developing proprietary things because, and this is the problem of standardization, because keeping in standard, we cannot do high quality of user experience.
Does that mean, though, that you've got the challenge of having to negotiate, with 101 potential suppliers because they've now got to conform to your proprietary system?
Actually, this is opposite because. In past years, when we were trying to integrate with different solution providers, different components of technology of the whole chain of IPTV or OTT, we were always negotiating with them to invest more in development to make it better quality of user experience. Higher, better reaction times, lower reaction, higher speed, better accuracy, smoothness, everything, usability, user friendliness, everything. And now, as we have switched to end-to-end delivery, then it is much easier for us. Of course, we are not talking about encoding standards. These are all standards. Yes. But we are talking about only software components.
Okay.
Starting from receiving point of signal from satellite, ending in STB firmware. Yeah. So we do all the chain, and this way it's much easier for us to do these things. These are simple things, to fastly or very fast switch channels, even Ultra HD channels. Because I have not seen anyone talking about this, because Ultra HD has long COPS, right? And this is even slower in changing channels.
Absolutely.
No one is talking because there are not channels on satellites to change.
No, just the one or the two. Yeah, exactly.
Time shifting, how fast and how precise will be positioning and reaction time. And overall video quality delivered, because we all have this adaptive bit rate. So what is adaptive bit rate? So when you don't have enough bandwidth, or your local bandwidth, or because of long range, you don't have any more HD or Ultra HD, you drop down the speed and quality. So that's what we do. Overall video quality and this fast and smooth operation and high quality of user experience. And that's why we are doing some proprietary technology.
Okay, Johan, Edgeware.
No proprietary.
I was going to say, how different might your philosophy be?
I spent my 15 first years of my career in the telecom and in the media industry, so I very much respect the values of standardization. That said, though, I think the advantage with content delivery over IP is that you can separate the delivery standardization and the application standardization. And from our end, doing the delivery, we don't see that big need for any new standards in order to deliver 4K or Ultra HD, or call it what you want. The standards are there to move the data from the servers to the consumer. The standards, I think, is more on the codecs and the rendering and the client side. But also there, I think that the entire decoupling of the software stack and the transport also facility means that we can start see more and more content being distributed, some semi-proprietary or maybe even fully proprietary, but consumers will be able to enjoy high quality seamlessly without all standards necessarily being in place.
Because that's essential. The consumer doesn't want any visibility of having to press buttons to make their to deliver the image to their set.
And I think that's the bottom line now, is that today, with today's ecosystems, it's the consumer who decides what device to buy to achieve the quality expected, while it used to be the service provider who decided what quality the consumer could get. And that changes quite a lot in this industry, how to think and so on. So from our perspective, we do have some standard impact on fast channel change and so on. That's actually what we are showing at TV Connect, our fast channel change solution for 4K and so on.